Welcome to another edition of Power of the Pen. I am LaWanna Bradford, and I'm excited because today we're going to talk about energy. Are you in control of your energy? Are you allowing the energy vampires to just seem to suck life out of you? Are you struggling with just trying to find your peace and momentum as you move forward in life? Does it seem like everywhere you turn, there's challenge when it comes to your energy and how you feel, how you show up in life? Today, we have a very special book that we are going to discuss, and it is The Energy Bus by Jon Gordon. Here we go on this side, The Energy Bus by Jon Gordon. And we're going to unpackage some of the things that he says regarding energy. He goes over 10 key principles to reclaim your energy, take ownership of your energy, be accountable and responsible for your energy as you live and navigate through life. Even though he goes over 10, today we're going to focus on 2. And we'll be right back to discuss the energy bus.
Power of the Pen with LaWanna Bradford, expanding the impact and influence of authors from around the world. If you want to change the world, pick up your pen and write, said Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Books are uniquely portable magic. Power of the Pen spotlights authors from around the world. Listen as authors share messages that educate, motivate, inspire, and entertain. Join us each Sunday at 2 p.m. Eastern on e360tv.com.
As I mentioned, we are discussing today The Energy Bus by Jon Gordon. And this book was actually given to me as a gift around 2007, 2008. I believe it was written in 2007, so probably 2008. And I read it, and it had an amazing impact on me. And like many of us, we read good books, life goes on, we put them on the shelf. We may or may not remember certain principles. And a few weeks ago, I found myself actually getting frustrated with hearing the sound of my own voice. What this means is I was complaining endlessly about a situation that I felt was beyond my control. I was on a project team, and there was this one individual where we weren't moving forward. We weren't getting the momentum that we needed because it was always what we can't do or what was done in the past or why we might be more challenged. It was never a situation where I felt that I or other members of the team were being celebrated for the ideas that we were bringing to the table. And I just began to think, okay, is this person's way of saying it's my way or the highway, and your opinions and thoughts don't matter, even though I recognize that you all are experts at the table and we can't do this without the collective. But I just felt that we were dealing with a lot of resistance. And I think all of you have felt that experience where it is so dark, the energy is so dark that you realize that somehow you've been caught up in a web of toxicity. It's a toxic environment. And the more you try to press and bring about solutions, the more challenged you are. And we're all energy. And that's one of the things that Jon Gordon first begins in his book, is reminding us that we are all energy, right? We are all vibrating. Everything around us is energy. And if that's the case, then the question that we must ask ourselves is, if we are energy, how much influence can we have on the energy that we radiate out and that which we allow to come back to us? I want to read this one section of this book. In fact, I'm going to read a couple passages as we go on today. And this is the book is such a great read. In fact, I was so moved by it that I'm giving it as a gift to a project team that I'm working with. And also my niece and nephew, who just recently graduated from high school. I thought, what a great book for them to just have in their arsenal, to give them some life application and tools to use when they feel that they're getting in a situation where it's putting them emotionally, mentally in a bad place. And this book talks, the main character in this book, his name is George, and it goes through his journey. And the journey actually began once he set foot on the bus. And he's having a conversation with the bus driver, and he said, and maybe many of you feel this way. And before I get into this point, this is where today the conversation about mental well-being is so important, because our mental well-being is driven by our emotions, right? Our feelings, how we're responding and or reacting to the world. And sometimes it can become very dark and overwhelming that we don't know how to get out of it. So this book is a tool for you, no matter where you are in life, in your personal life, whether you're in school, whether you're working on project teams, whether you're a business owner or entrepreneur, in the corporate landscape. This very simple story goes over some basic principles. Again, 10 rules that we can consider when we feel that we're a little out of sorts, right? So how do we take ownership of our energy? So this first conversation he's having with the bus driver, he said, to me, it feels like over time, everyone in your life, including life itself, makes more and more decisions for you. And before you know it, it's not even your life anymore. Can any of you relate to that? Can you raise your hand wherever you are watching this? Can you relate to where you feel like, okay, I'm being told what to do, I'm being voluntold, but you just feel like you have no voice any longer? And he said, the government tells me what taxes I have to pay. My bosses tell me what to do at work. My wife orders me around at home. I feel imprisoned by my paycheck and responsibilities. So to answer your question, no, I don't feel like I have a choice. The real truth is that instead of living, I feel like I'm dying every day. When I was doing my walk today, I was thinking about just that. How many people are not going about the life of living, really embracing who they are in their authenticity, standing in their truth, being comfortable with developing those boundaries, realizing that life, it may deal some unfortunate hands for you, but we all have a choice in how we choose to either respond or react to it. We all have a responsibility to be accountable for us, because it's just this one life that we have to live, right? And so I want to read you this part here. They're talking about energy. And as I mentioned earlier, we're all energy. Everything around us is energy. And it says, so all physical stuff we see, even our own bodies, are really made of energy. So this is an energetic universe we live in, and everything about us is energy. But you don't need to get deep and know anything about science to understand that life is about energy, Joy said. And Joy is a bus driver. All you have to do is think about your own life. So let's sit in that. Those of you that are watching, think about your own life as I read this. Think about the people who increase your energy and those who drain you. And I know when I was reading this, I'm like, yep, energy vampire to the left, favorable rejuvenation energy to the right of me. Think about the foods you eat that make you feel great and those that make you want to take a nap. Think about the projects at work that energize you and those that burn you out. Everything is energy. It is found in our thoughts, the words we say, the music we listen to, and the people who we surround ourselves with. I want you to think about that as you're going forward in your life. If you're in a place where you feel like there's just a lot of yuck around me, I'm feeling drained everywhere I go, it's really hard for me to get out of bed in the morning, I just can't seem to get excited about anything, do a little evaluation. What's going on around you? Do it. Take time to do an inventory. Who is in your inner circle? Which ones lift you up and which ones just pull you down. I have a friend, and he's so negative about life. It's like when you call him, there's never anything good. And so I learned to not get sucked into that, because you can easily get sucked in. I learned to quickly say, okay, well, I'm sorry things aren't going well. I'll pray for you. I hope things get better. And I quickly hang up the phone. But I noticed that, again, it's a choice that he chooses for whatever reason to spiral in this quagmire of woe is me, life is horrible, no one likes me, nothing ever works out for me. I mean, literally, it doesn't matter when you call him at any time of the year, it always starts off with negative. So imagine this individual, as the example that I'm giving you, if this is how he is seeing his life, then that means that's how he's showing up in his life. And that's how he chooses to respond to his life, which means this cycle of negativity, of woe is me, of dark space existence perpetuates itself. Right? So when this book here, The Energy Bus, Jon Gordon is challenging us to, number one, reflect on everything that is around us, recognizing that we're energetic beings, and ask ourselves through a serious audit, what is draining our energy and what it feels like is restoring and rejuvenating that energy. One of the things that I want to share with you is Jon has, his principles have been celebrated all over the world, and he has spoken and shared this information with the NFL, the NBA, college coaches, teams, Fortune 500 companies, school district, hospitals, and nonprofits. So he has a proven track record in all of these disciplines that it works. But in order for it to work, you have to do the work. And to do the work, you first start on yourself. And that's what George is going through in this discovery of the energy bus that we're talking about here by Jon Gordon. He's going through a discovery of his life. He's peeling back the onion. And in some of this, it's a very, very painful realization of where things stand with him. I mentioned there are 10 steps, 10 principles that are in this book, but we're only going to discuss 2. And the first is, you are the driver of your bus. One of the things that I talk about when I'm doing business consulting and coaching is I talk about the R3 system. And the first R is about reframing. And that's basically what this principle is, meaning you are the driver of your bus. This is your life. You're in your lane. You decide what it's going to look like, right? You take responsibility and ownership for it. And then you set those boundaries and those parameters, because you're driving it. You can choose by your senses telling you what's going on, how you choose to respond, how you choose to react, how you want to show up, or how you choose to retreat. So that is rule number 1, is knowing that you are truly the driver of your bus. And I want to read this to you. They were talking about that statistics show that more people die, not to be morbid, but more people die Monday morning at 9 a.m. than any other time, because they wake up and they're dreading. They are dreading having to face the day, having to face the week, having to face that job that they absolutely hate. So imagine chemically how your body is responding to all of this negative self-talk that you're putting in, all of this feeling of resistance. It does impact our mental, physical, emotional, and spiritual health. And Joy is telling him to take responsibility and realizing that you are in the driver's seat. You are truly in the driver's seat of your life. And this is when George was saying, as I read earlier, he feels like everyone's making the decisions for him. Well, actually, he turned over the decision-making to other people. So what I want you to ask yourself is, are realizing that you are in a decision-making seat, and where have you relegated that authority to someone else, those choices to someone else? When are you going to take ownership back? Again, map out what you want your life to be, how you want to show up, envision it, go through the mindset work, be intentional, but be committed to the bus, to your energy bus that you're driving, which is your life, right? It's unfolding before you. Rule number 7 that he talks about, and let me get to this one. He talks about enthusiasm attracts more passengers and energizes them during the ride. And you hear the saying that you can attract more with honey than with vinegar, right? So we need to think about not only our self-talk, but how are we talking to others? How do we, in business, we think about often those of us who may be in leadership, whether it's senior executive leadership, leading a team, how do we get buy-in? How do we get everyone to see the vision? How do we get everyone to play nice? Well, it's through your enthusiasm. It's thinking first about them, being able to communicate the value to them. You say you have a winning team, but if I don't feel that I'm part of a winning team, if I don't feel like I truly belong on this team, if I don't feel that my opinions matter or that they're valued, it doesn't matter what you say. I'm watching your actions. So it's important that we recognize our role in that. And with George, he had a major project that he had to complete. And it required his team. And the team was in such a state of disarray that several pulled off the team. He let some go from the team. And he realized that and some just said, I'm on the team, but I'm going to fold my hands and I'm not going to do anything because I believe this bus is going to drive off a cliff. How many of you have felt that way, where it's the environment is so toxic? It's not fruitful. It's not fruitful to generate creativity and innovation. Or maybe it's your home life. That there's been so much back and forth, and no one's willing to say, hey, let's call it truce and figure out how we can make this work. That you feel that, oh my gosh, if something doesn't change, this may end up in divorce. If something doesn't change, my child may go off to college and never speak to me again. If something doesn't change, I may end up losing my job. If something doesn't change, I may end up having high turnover in the workplace. So what he wants us to focus on is, if rule number 7 is that energy attracts more passengers and energizes them during the ride, how do you do that? Right? Well, we're going to get back to how you do that in just a second, because the how that Jon Gordon mentions is, it's important to realize that we are the CEO of our lives. And when I say CEO, I'm not referring to Chief Executive Officer. I'll be right back. I'm LaWanna Bradford here with Power of the Pen, and we are talking about The Energy Bus by Jon Gordon, a great book that talks about 10 principles on how to shift your energy, show up authentically for yourself, establishing the boundaries that you need, and realize that you do not have to suffer among energy vampires. And sometimes the energy vampires can be your own thoughts, your own limited beliefs, stinking thinking, bubble talk, as Bird Smith Lyon says. So what we were talking about is the book talks about, in order to ensure that you're creating enthusiasm that attracts others and energizes them during the ride on your bus, you have to be the CEO. And again, that doesn't stand for Chief Executive Officer. It stands for Chief Energy Officer. I'll say that again, Chief Energy Officer. So George, having this conversation on the bus with a guy named Jack, another passenger, he said, "Sir, I'm just a manager, not even an executive. I've got 2 days." He means 2 days before this project is due. "Please tell me, how am I going to be CEO of my company? And what does that have to do with leading from the heart?" So he's starting to get confused. He's hearing all these messages. He thought he was understanding, and now they threw another thing in the game about CEO. And he said, "First, call me Jack. Second, CEO doesn't stand for Chief Executive Officer anymore. It stands for Chief Energy Officer." Why energy? Because energy is the currency. Listen to this, to those of you who are watching this. Energy is the currency of personal and professional success today. We talk about emotional intelligence. We talk about developing those soft skills, which, soft is probably not the word that we should use, and how we interact, relate one to another. Again, he says energy is the currency of personal and professional success today. If you don't have it, you can't lead, inspire, or make a difference. Again, if you don't have it, you can't lead, inspire, make a difference. And the great thing about being a Chief Energy Officer is that anyone in your company, including you, can become one. And that statement right there is so brilliant, because what they were telling George, and they're telling everyone, is you have the power. You are already empowered. You have the innate ability to rise up in your greatness, in your genius, in your authenticity, in your skills and your talents and your giftings, and show up in the world and be that positive energy that is going to drive change, that is going to inspire, motivate, and make a difference. He says, deciding to become a Chief Energy Officer means you share positive, powerful, and contagious energy with your coworkers, employees, and customers, or your family, your children. It means that you communicate from the heart, Jack said, as he put his hands to his chest. Now, George, I'm sure you heard the big buzzword in the business today is emotional intelligence, heartfelt leadership. George nodded as Marty yelled from the back, research says it's responsible for 80% of adult success. And I want to stop right there. When we think about where we might be spinning our wheels, we're in a collective, and we're not getting the energy around us that we need, the momentum. It's like a start stop. We feel that we are bumping our heads against the wall. The question is, again, really assessing your role and what are you emitting, and how are you responding to others, and how are you setting your platform and environment and home up so people can show up in their authenticity and in their truth. Because when everyone is in their lane and zone of excellence, success is going to be inevitable. But when you're dealing with resistance, when one person is trying to strong arm things into my way or the highway, or shut up and color, then you're going to be met with more and more resistance. Jon Gordon reminds us in this book, and it says 10 rules to fuel your life, work, and team with positive energy, is that life ultimately is what you make it. It's not saying that things don't happen. It doesn't mean that we're going to avoid the energy vampires. It doesn't mean that we're not going to make mistakes, bad decisions along the way. But it is what we make it. It is how we choose to navigate, take ownership and responsibility and accountability for the bus we drive, and how we choose to respond to others respond to life, and shape it. I want to read this last part before we close out. And it says, people get protective of their turf. Just watch the news. Countries argue over borders. If people only woke up and realized the whole universe is their home, why fight over small pieces of territory when you can claim the universe as your own? So again, this is dealing with sometimes our limited thinking, right? We tend to place ourselves in a box, or we've allowed others to place us in a box that is very restrictive, that we're unable to see beyond the box, see beyond the walls, see beyond the impossible to the possible. Any moment, he's talking about these people who are in their small thinking, they can have it all by simply enjoying the ride. But many focus on the small instead of living large. How many of you out there may be focusing on the small? You're playing small. You know you're playing small. You know you are. But for whatever reason, you've convinced yourself that it's okay to play small. Perhaps there's fear that's overtaking you. Some people say fear means false evidence appearing real. It hasn't even happened yet, but you're fearing it. Perhaps you are concerned about rejection, ridicule, and so, or acceptance, the lack thereof. And so rather than rising up in your power and in your might, you retreat. Let me get into the comfort zone of playing small. Let me be a wallflower in my own life, and it's going to be okay. But deep down, you're not happy. Deep down, you're miserable. Deep down, you're wondering, is it going to get better? There has to be more to life, right? And that's what Jon Gordon is reminding us of. Yes, there is more. He said, these individuals worry about promotions, deadlines, emails, their arguments with coworkers and family members. They focus on the minutia and forget that they will never see today again. So you get so caught up in stuff and things that you miss living, embracing, and celebrating the beauty of the now. We've all heard the saying that tomorrow is not promised. Yesterday is a past. Today is a present. That's why it's a gift. Are you living in the gift of today? Are you celebrating today? Are you rising in your truth today? Are you finding a way to make sure that your energy is radiating and vibrating at the most highest of levels that it possibly can? He further says their bus is going through life, right? Many of us are going through the motion. We're existing, but they're blind to the beauty around them. Think about it. The day you die, you will still have 30 or 40 emails in your inbox that will not be answered. You'll never get it all done, so you might as well relax, take a deep breath. As my business partner says, woosah, and enjoy the ride. Enjoy the ride. They did a study with 95-year-olds. And these are the results of the study. They asked them if they could do it all over again. And this really resonated with me because my dad, God willing, will see 94 in 2 weeks. And so he's in this generation they're talking about. And they asked them if they were to do it all over again and live their life, what would they do differently? The 3 things they said was they would reflect more, they would enjoy more moments, more sunsets. Number 2, they would take more risk and chances because they feel life is too short not to go for it. They would leave everything. They would not leave anything on the table. And they said they would have left a legacy, something that would live long after they were no longer here on this earth. So again, they're saying they would reflect more, again, enjoying the moment, enjoying the now. They would take more risk and chances, not living in a fear, not saying, oh, I don't have the money to do so. Oh, I'll wait until I retire. I'll get there someday, right? Living on the someday aisle. And they would have left a legacy. when I read that after recently rereading this book, I talked to my dad and I asked him, I said, Dad, wow, you've lived 94 amazing years. Born in 1930, Depression baby, joined the military when it was still a segregated army, a Buffalo soldier, 30 years in the military, traveled the world, married, have 2 kids. Mama, you just celebrated 69 years and you're about to, God willing, see 94 years old. I said, Dad, everyone has a bucket list. What have you not completed that's on your bucket list? What else do you want to do? And he looked at me with such sincerity and he said, LaWanna, nothing. I've done it all. I was like, whew, it took me back. I had to sit down. I was talking to a girlfriend of mine and I said, this is what Dad shared. And if this were my last day, I could not even say that. I wouldn't even come close to being able to say that. Because I know that there have been times in my life that I have played small. I have made excuses. I have done the blame game. You know, this person is getting in my way. This person isn't doing what they're doing. I allowed other people's negative energy to pull me down. And I thought, no, it's about ownership. It's about accountability. And it's about what I can control. And what I can control is my energy. What I can control is how I show up for others. What I can control is how I celebrate, motivate, encourage, lead, inspire others. But in order to do so, I have to come from a point of love, a point of high energy, a point of self-awareness, and celebration and loving first myself so that that can then radiate to others. Realizing that I'm not perfect. I'm going to make mistakes along the way, but I'm going to give myself some grace, not beat myself up, and know that sometimes when things fail or I'm not certain, that I have resources, to include this book by Jon Gordon, The Energy Buzz, to remind me about the 10 principles, to hold close and to make sure that I'm walking in them and in my truth every single day. I want to thank you so very much for joining me for another edition of Power of the Pen. And if you want to, be part of Power of the Pen, I have 3 shows, Power of the Pen, Raw Talk, and Choose the Challenge, but I want to speak specifically about Power of the Pen. If you'd like to be a guest on Power of the Pen, if you're an author and you've written a book and you want to share your message, if you have a book that has really inspired and motivated you, that you just want to sit down and share, like this book really motivated me. So I'm like, okay, today, it's not going to be a guest hour. We're going to focus on the book. I am very interested in talking to you and learning more about the book that you read, how it inspired, and how we might be able to share your message, your story of the transformation you experienced to a broader audience. So again, if you're an author, you'd like to be on this platform, we'd love to have you and feature you on E360 TV. We also stream on LinkedIn and Facebook. It's just an honor to be here to help provide a platform to elevate the voices of those who have a powerful word to share, to be a part of a community that is committed to be an influence and an impact, to affect change so that we have a better world, not only for today, but for the next generation. So again, if you want to be on Power of the Pen, please contact me at my email below, LaWanna@BradfordGroupMTG.com. Also, you'll see my my social media links there, LaWanna Bradford, or Instagram, the LaWanna Bradford. I'm easy to reach. Reach out to me. We'd love to have a conversation and get you on one of our episodes this season. Again, thank you so much for joining me for a conversation about The Energy Bus by Jon Gordon. Again, The Energy Bus by Jon Gordon, available on Amazon. A great, simple read. Again, it's a book that I'm sharing with a group of project officers. And I'm also sharing it with my niece and nephew as they get ready to go off to college. I think it's just very rich with tools, exercises, insights on how you can rise up, take control of your life in a way that fosters that positive energy that attracts individuals to you rather than repel, so you can be the change not only that you wish to see in the world, but the change the world sees. Remember, in life and in business, when your vision intersects with opportunity, success is inevitable. I look forward to seeing you next week for another edition of Power the Pen. Be safe, and we will see you soon.